The moment her foot slammed into my seatback for the third time, I knew this flight was going to turn into a nightmare. Not turbulence, not an accident, just one angry passenger who decided I was her personal punching bag. And I had no idea how far she was willing to go until the crew stepped in. I was on a long-haul flight, already exhausted before we even reached cruising altitude. I'd boarded early, stowed my bag, and settled into what I thought would be a quiet, uneventful journey. Middle-aged woman behind me, aisle seat, sunglasses on indoors, arms crossed tight like she was bracing for battle. I noticed her, sure, but I didn't think much of it. Flights are full of strangers, and most of them just want to be left alone. The first kick felt accidental, a dull thump against my seatback, just strong enough to jolt me forward. I turned my head slightly, half expecting an apology. Nothing. She stared straight ahead, lips pressed together, pretending it never happened. I shrugged it off. Maybe she stretched her legs. Then it happened again, harder this time. My tray table rattled, my drink trembled, and the guy next to me shot me a confused look. I twisted around fully now, meeting her eyes. She didn't look away. She looked annoyed, like I had wronged her somehow just by existing in front of her. "Is there a problem?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. She leaned back, scoffed, and said, "Your seat is too far back." I blinked. My seat wasn't even reclined yet. We were still climbing. I told her that, politely. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck, and muttered something about selfish people under her breath. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. As soon as the seatbelt sign turned off, I reclined my seat just a few inches. Not slammed, not aggressively, normal airplane etiquette. The response was immediate, a sharp kick, deliberate this time. My tray table lurched. "Hey," I said, louder now, "please don't do that." She snapped back. "I paid for my space. You don't get to take it." Passengers around us started to listen. You can always feel it when tension spreads down a row. People pretending not to stare, but absolutely staring. I straightened my seat again, trying to avoid a scene. My heart was already pounding faster than it should have. For about 30 seconds, it was quiet. Then the kicking started again, repeated, aggressive, like she was trying to send a message through my spine. Thump, thump, thump. I raised my hand and signaled for a flight attendant. When she arrived, I explained calmly what was happening. The woman behind me cut in immediately. "She's invading my space. I told her to stop reclining." The attendant looked between us, then gently explained that reclining was allowed and that kicking seats wasn't acceptable. The woman laughed, actually laughed, and said, "We'll see about that." That was the moment I realized this wasn't about legroom. This wasn't about comfort. This woman wanted control. As the attendant walked away, the kicks grew stronger, more frequent, almost rhythmic. My seat shook with every impact. I could feel anger rising in my chest, mixing with embarrassment and disbelief. I wasn't doing anything wrong, yet somehow I was being punished for it. Other passengers started whispering. Someone across the aisle shook their head. I felt trapped, nowhere to go, nowhere to move, stuck in a metal tube at 35,000 feet with someone who clearly didn't care about rules or reason. I pressed the call button again, this time with shaking fingers. When the purser arrived, everything changed. He didn't smile. He didn't negotiate. He watched her kick my seat one more time while I sat perfectly still. And that's when I knew this situation was about to take a turn I never expected. The purser didn't say a word at first. He stood there, hands clasped behind his back, watching her foot retract slowly, like a child caught doing something they thought no one would notice. The cabin had gone quiet in that way flights do when something serious is happening. No one talking, no one laughing, just the low hum of engines and the tension hanging thick in the air. "Ma'am," he finally said, calm but firm, "may I speak with you?" She sighed dramatically, loud enough for half the cabin to hear, and leaned back in her seat like she was the victim here. "I've already explained," she said. "She keeps reclining into my space. I have bad knees. This is unfair." The purser nodded slowly, then asked her to stop kicking the seat immediately. He explained airline policy, personal space, and basic passenger conduct. He even offered a compromise. He suggested I keep my seat upright during meal service and overnight, which I had already been doing. I agreed instantly. I just wanted peace. She didn't. The moment the purser turned his attention to me, she slammed her foot into my seat again, harder than before. The tray table snapped down halfway, and my water spilled onto my lap. Gasps rippled through the surrounding rows. "That's assault," someone behind us muttered. The purser's expression changed completely. No more patience, no more explanations. He turned back to her and said, "That behavior stops now." She crossed her arms and snapped, "Or what?" That question was the mistake. He asked her to unbuckle and follow him to the galley. She refused, said she wasn't going anywhere, said she knew her rights, said she flies all the time and had never been treated this way. Her voice kept rising, each sentence louder than the last, drawing more attention, feeding on it. Meanwhile, my nerves were shot. My back ached from bracing against the impacts. My hands were clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. I felt angry, yes, but more than that, I felt small, like I was being publicly bullied and couldn't escape. The purser made a quick decision. He leaned down toward me and asked quietly if I was willing to move seats. I nodded immediately, relief flooding through me so fast it almost made me dizzy. He told me to grab my things and follow him. As I stood up, the woman exploded. "Oh, so she gets rewarded? This is ridiculous. She started it." Started it? By sitting, in a seat, I paid for. Passengers openly stared now. No one was pretending anymore. A man in the row ahead turned around and said, "Lady, you've been kicking your seat the whole time." That only made her angrier. As I stepped into the aisle, she shoved her seat back forward aggressively, as if to reclaim some imaginary territory. The purser guided me past her, blocking her line of sight, and led me toward the front of the plane. But it didn't end there. As we walked away, she yelled after us, "You think this is over? I'm filing a complaint. You'll regret this." The purser didn't respond. He seated me several rows forward, in a better seat than I'd paid for, and told me to take a moment to breathe. I could still feel my heart racing in my ears. From my new seat, I could see down the aisle. I watched the purser return to her row. I watched him bend down and speak quietly. I watched her gesturing wildly, pointing at my old seat like it was evidence in a trial. Then I saw him reach down and do something I didn't expect at all. He adjusted her seat, not back, forward, all the way upright. She noticed instantly. "What are you doing?" she shouted. "I'm locking your recline for the remainder of the flight," he said evenly, "due to repeated aggressive behavior." The look on her face was pure disbelief, mouth open, eyes wide, like reality had just slapped her harder than she'd been kicking my seat. And that's when she completely lost it. She stood up so fast, her headphones flew off her head and clattered into the aisle. "You can't do that," she shouted. "That's illegal. I paid for this seat. I have a medical condition." The purser didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He simply repeated that her recline was now disabled due to safety and passenger conduct, and that any further disruption would result in authorities meeting the plane on arrival. The word authorities hit the cabin like a dropped glass. For a split second, she looked scared. Then she pivoted. She started crying, loud, dramatic sobs, hands over her face, rocking back and forth like she'd been wronged beyond repair. "I can't sit upright for hours," she wailed. "My back, my knees, you're torturing me." People shifted uncomfortably. A few glanced around, unsure who to believe now. And that's when the twist came. Quiet, sharp, undeniable. The purser calmly asked her to produce documentation for her claimed condition, explaining that passengers with medical needs were required to notify the airline in advance. Her crying stopped instantly. Not slowed, stopped, like a switch flipped. She stared at him. "I don't have it with me," she snapped. He nodded once. "That's what I thought." He then explained, loud enough for nearby rows to hear, that the seat locking mechanism was only used in extreme cases, and that kicking another passenger's seat repeatedly was classified as aggressive interference. He also noted that the crew had reviewed footage from the cabin cameras focused on the aisle. Cameras. Her face drained of color. She sat down slowly, suddenly very aware of how many eyes were on her now. No more shouting, no more crying, just silence and a rigid, upright seat she couldn't escape from. The rest of the flight was quiet, almost eerily so. I kept waiting for something else to happen, some final outburst, but it never came. She didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even look up, just stared at the seat back in front of her like it had personally betrayed her. When we landed, the purser came back to check on me. He apologized for the situation, for the stress, for how long it took to intervene fully. Then he said something that made everything click. She wasn't upset about legroom, he told me quietly. She was upset because she couldn't control you. As we disembarked, I saw her again, standing off to the side while two uniformed officers spoke to her. No tears now, no anger, just frustration and embarrassment wrapped tightly around her like a coat she couldn't take off. I walked past without a word. For the first time since boarding, I felt light. Not because I'd been moved forward, not because her recline was locked, but because someone had finally drawn a line and she couldn't cross it. And that's when I realized something I'll never forget. Sometimes the most satisfying ending isn't revenge, it's watching someone lose the power they thought they had. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every single subscription motivates me to bring you even more exciting and dramatic HOA stories. And don't forget to tap the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. I'll see you in the next story, where justice gets even more satisfying.